By looking at the title of the video, you must have understood what we are gonna talk about in this video. Sundar Pichai was once Google's golden boy, the one who transformed a successful search engine into a tech giant. Under his leadership, Google's stock price made new highs and their profits soared. But lately, things haven't been so rosy. Google's core products are slowly losing market share. Their workforce is bloated despite thousands of layoffs across the globe. And most importantly, the sudden AI boom and Google's utter failure in it. And to make things worse, Google's co-founder Sergey Brin has unexpectedly come out of retirement. Recently, Sergey made a rare public appearance just to admit the disastrous performance of Google's Gemini. Investors are worried that Google's best days are behind it. Calls are growing for the removal of Sundar Pichai as the CEO of Google. And with Sergey coming back, there are rumors that Sergey may soon replace Sundar, just like how Steve Jobs once did to save stumbling Apple. If sources are to be believed, Sundar will be fired or would be forced to resign. But what went wrong and how Google's golden boy became their biggest headache? Let's find out. To understand how Sundar Pichai ended up here, we need to know how he became the CEO in the first place. Sundar Pichai joined Google in 2004 as the head of product management and development. He initially worked on the Google toolbar, which enabled those using the Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox web browsers to easily access the Google search engine. While working, Sundar knew that the toolbars were gonna go extinct soon. So he tried to convince Google's co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin to work on building Google's own browser. They agreed. And over the next few years, Sundar was directly involved in the development of Google's own browser, Chrome, which was released to the public in 2008. Chrome became a huge success in no time. You must be thinking that this may be the reason why he was given such a huge role. Well, you are wrong. In fact, his promotion as the CEO of Google had nothing to do with his corporate achievements. Actually, the whole story is so complex. To understand it, we would have to go back in time when Sundar Pichai was hired by Google. At the time when Sundar joined, Google's CEO was Eric Schmidt, who was neither the co-founder nor was he an early employee of the company. Eric was appointed as the CEO on the call of investors who just wanted to have control over Larry and Sergey. Unbothered by this, the co-founders kept working on different things. They wanted the world to know that Google is not just limited to a search engine. And Gmail was the first attempt in their mission, which was launched on 1st April 2004, the same day Sundar was interviewed at Google. After this, they gradually acquired Android, YouTube, and Google Maps. Oftentimes, they would not even tell Eric about the acquisitions. While all these acquisitions turned out to be extremely profitable for Google, Larry and Sergey strongly felt that the real opportunity lies in the browser market. They knew that Google's own browser would let them create their own ecosystem of Google services. Eric, however, strongly opposed the idea. According to him, it was impossible to beat Microsoft in the field of internet browsers. Eric just wanted to focus on the company's core business and essentially forbid Sergey and Larry to pursue the idea for 6 full years. So, it's not like Larry and Sergey chose Sundar because he gave them the idea of a browser. They already had the idea for years. What they didn't have were the authority and the right man to do the job. When Sundar approached them with a similar idea, they saw a ray of hope in the darkness. They told Sundar to immediately make a team and start working on building Chrome, but without letting Eric know. And this is how Google got their own browser, which became a huge success and took over Internet Explorer and Firefox to become the most used internet browser in just 3 to 4 years. In 2009, the market share of Internet Explorer was around 55% and the market share of Firefox was around 32%, while Chrome's was a mere 5%. But today, the market shares of both Firefox and Internet Explorer are just around 5 to 8%, and Chrome's market share has jumped to a whopping 63%. This also cemented Sundar's place in Google's inner circle. Chrome's success further strengthened the co-founders' hold on the company, which led them to work on more successful products, including the ones opposed by Eric for years. Unfortunately, this was it for Eric, as the investors started questioning Eric's decisions. This further cemented the fact that the founders were the true geniuses behind Google. Internal pressure forced Eric to resign as the CEO of Google and allowed Larry Page to come back to the top position. Now that the company was in full control of Larry and Sergey, they started working on their ambitious project, such as self-driving cars and Google Glass. In fact, Larry's plan was to turn Google into an experimental lab where everyone would work on futuristic things. He wanted Google to not be a traditional workspace, but an island filled with scientists where Google would be free from investors and government oversight. But investors were not at all happy with this. They thought Larry was lacking clarity. Larry and Sergey's vision for Google as a groundbreaking research institution didn't align with investors' focus on profits. On top of that, Larry lost his voice. Larry had been struggling with voice-related issues due to vocal cord paralysis since the early 2000s, which got real bad in 2010. As his problems increased, he started skipping shareholder meetings and presentations, which alarmed the investors. A company this big cannot be run like this. Investors wanted a new CEO to lead the company. Thankfully, Google was founded by two guys, and Sergey Brin was still there to replace Larry, right? Well, nothing like that happened, because during the same time, Sergey Brin was caught in an extramarital affair with the marketing director of Google Glass. That scandal not only tarnished Sergey's reputation, but also deteriorated his relation with Larry. Larry Page even stopped talking to Sergey. This also eliminated Sergey from the race of CEO. Now, Google desperately needed a visionary leader who could steer it out of all these controversies and lead it to new highs. But where can they get that? They had Eric Schmidt, who opposed the visionary idea of Chrome, Larry Page, who lost his voice, and Sergey Brin, who was caught up in an extramarital affair. But they still had Andy Rubin, the founder of Android, who was the perfect choice to lead the company. Wait, the problems are not over yet. Andy was caught up in some serious misconduct allegation and was paid $90 million to leave Google as soon as possible. This left Google with only one person from the inner circle who was uncontroversial and visionary too, and he was none other than Sunder Pichai. Well, no one can take away the credit from Sundar that he had reached here by working hard and had achieved a lot with his hard work. But what really made him the CEO was not his hard work, but the circumstances. Finally, Sundar Pichai became the CEO of Google on August 15, 2015. A few years later, Sundar was promoted to become the CEO of Google's parent company Alphabet. And this is where Sundar's tough times started. However, Sundar did exactly what he was told to do, to lead Google uncontroversially and maximize profits and revenue. And we can't find fault in Sundar's work, as under his leadership, Google's revenue quadrupled, net income quintupled, and Alphabet's stock prices skyrocketed. But the problem was, that's all Google has achieved under him. I mean, there's no doubt that Google grew in terms of balance sheets, but in terms of innovation, Google's growth was zero. Think about it yourself. Can you give me a single successful product that was launched by Google since Sundar took over? Even after thinking a lot, I can only remember one product, and that is the Google Pixel, which is no doubt a great phone in terms of features, performance and value, but its sales and market share are equally bad. In fact, Pixel's market share is less than 1% in global smartphone market. But Google was still making money, a lot of money, and you must be thinking, why did it bother the investors then? Well, it didn't actually. It bothered them after November 30th, 2020, when ChatGPT was launched. All of a sudden, there was an AI boom, and the investors didn't want to miss out on something that important. They wanted Sundar to build something as soon as possible to compete with ChatGPT, which now had a backing from Microsoft too. Sundar tried his best, and Google released its own chatbot Bard AI just 4 months later in March 2023. But launching Bard just after the release of ChatGPT turned out to be a bad move, as people started considering it a copy of ChatGPT. As if this was not enough, Bard made a factual error in its very first demo, which is not surprising considering the fact that how rushed they were to bring Bard into the market. This error had cost Google $100 billion in market value, as the stocks of the company had gone down by nearly 7%. Google was humiliated, its reputation was on stake. Now, there was a huge pressure on Sundar to fix Bard AI and make it outperform ChatGPT. Then comes Google Gemini. That was supposed to be Google's AI redemption. But did it do what it was supposed to do? The answer is no. In fact, Gemini even destroyed whatever little respect Google had left. Gemini literally made Google a meme stock due to its extremely woke bias. Actually, it all started when a user asked Gemini to generate a picture of George Washington. And this is what Gemini generated. Not only this, according to Gemini, these are the popes and these are the Vikings. When the controversy grew beyond limits, Google had to clarify that they are fixing the errors, and they even paused the text-to-image feature. Just when they thought it was over, another big controversy started in India when Gemini called Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi a fascist. After which, a notice was sent to Google asking for a response. To which Google replied that Gemini is built as a creativity and productivity tool and may not always be reliable, and this is something that they are constantly working on improving. This blunder not only cost the company another $98 billion in market value, but also eliminated all the investors' trust in Sundar Pichai to lead Google in the generation of AI. This, combined with the fact that Sergey Brin is back, leaving all his personal drama behind, may be the early signs that Sergey, who always worked under Larry's shadow, could now be the CEO and take full control of the company in his own hands. Only time will tell what will be the fate of Sundar Pichai and Google. Who do you think would lead Google? Tell us in the comments down below.
You're the ones building the next Google, the next Spotify, the next Tesla, the next, well, we don't even know. But what I know is that someone in this room will build it.